There's nothing like League. And this is the Betfred Super League. No! Got me here. It took a big chunk out of me. Bleeding. It's bleeding. Oh no, it's bleeding. The thing just ripped my ear off. What do you think?
Hello again, everyone. This is the Eddie and Stevo Rugby League podcast, here with the support of the game's major sponsors, Betfred. As usual, much to discuss, matters off-field and on-field. But Stevo, I think first we must reflect and congratulate Wakefield Trinity on their long-awaited first win of the season. It came on Sunday against the Leeds Rhinos of all clubs. They must be delighted down at Bellevue, mustn't they?
Well, yes and no, because they still have a few problems. Yes, it's congratulations to them. They obviously played well against Leeds. In my opinion, the Rhinos appear to be in one heck of a slump.
It would appear so, and we'll talk about that in a moment or two, but this win for Wakefield came at quite a cost. First of all, the trialist and debutant, the Frenchman Hugo Salabio, he was sent off for a nasty spear tackle on Richie Myler. He's on a 28-day trial with the club. So that'll be a problem because he's got a 7-game ban now. And also Sam Essay and Sam Hewitt, they each have been handed 1-match bans. So it's 1 step forward and 3 steps back.
Yeah, it's not the best scenario, is it, when you sort of look at the fact that they've been trying to shore up the team. They've had their problems with injuries throughout this season. And it was a sad tale. But you've got to say that they have dug deep. But how far have they dug? And how far have they got players suspended, which won't help?
No, it won't. They're in a bit of a mess as far as that's concerned. But the win might well be timely because Wakefield are currently on the brink of being taken over by some new owners. Terms of agreement has been agreed. Due diligence is now underway. 4 weeks maybe before it goes through. Michael Carter, the club's CEO, says 2 approaches were made. He couldn't go into specifics at this stage, but he did say the shareholders won't be standing in the way of the deal. They won't be seeking any payment for their shares or repayment of the substantial director loans that they currently hold. There's no desire to hold on to the community stadium that's now being delivered after 10 years of hard work. It sounds like a win-win for any new consortium, but you have to ask, don't you, despite the fact they beat Leeds, who, with Wakefield bottom of the table and doomed to relegation, why now?
It's going to be difficult for them because we also have said for many, many weeks now that IMG, who will control the future of rugby league in the UK and, of course, in France, it's controversial in as much that they do not want relegation and they do not want promotion. So whoever these people are wanting to take over Wakefield, the club itself, are they looking at the fact that they will never, ever play in Super League again? So it amazes me to think that a consortium has actually made a bid to take over Wakefield, in as much where they could be taking over a club that will never, ever play again in Super League, unless, of course, that there is an opening for them to build over the next 2, 3, 5 years, and like they do in Australia, make a bid to be accepted to extend the amount of teams in Super League. I hope that the latter is what will occur, because whoever has got the money behind it, and you have to say what a great tribute to those people who have involved and put money into the game, into Wakefield, quite happy not to ask for repayment. So as you say, win, win, win. But it could be maybe 3 to 5 years, Eddie, before they even want to apply. So IMG, once again, comes to the fore. Have we got any knowledge of this? No. How long do we have to wait?
Good question. We've been asking that now for 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks. The thing is, it's not going to be, as far as we are aware, purely and simply on a performance-related basis. It's going to be about the pitch. It's going to be about the stadium. It's going to be about the reach. It's going to be about the supporters. It's going to be about, all sorts, bits and pieces. Now, the hybrid pitch, which has been a subject of controversy at the start of this season, is predicted to earn the club £100,000 a year. And the new stand that's going up and should be built and finished in the next couple of months is predicted to bring in £500,000 a year. I don't know what they've based that on, but Stevo, that seems a tad on the high side to me. But if they get all this in place, you never know. They might go down in October. They might come back in February.
It could be the case. £500,000 in the new stand. I think that that's feasible in regards to the fact that they probably would rent out for parties, weddings, etc., and so forth. So therefore, it wouldn't just be the revenue that they would get over the bars during the games. It's obviously been planned for that stand and its amenities to be utilised 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year. So I don't think they're far off in regard saying that it will earn them £500,000 a year. I think it's pretty near the mark.
Well, let's wait and see. And you never know. Wakefield, they might go down, as I say, in October, September, October. They might be back in February. We'll have to wait and see. Further fallout, though, from the Wakefield victory at the weekend. From Leeds this time, because at Headingley, the word is that coach Rowan Smith is now under the most intense pressure. 1 win from the last 6 games, 6 points off a playoff place with 12 games remaining. Leeds, under their coach, they're not performing. And when you consider that the bottom 2, Castleford and Wakefield, they've won just 4 games between them this year, and 3 of those have come against Leeds, the questions are starting to be asked, Stevo.
And rightly so. You keep saying that results are everything, and yes, they are. The fans, well, they're disillusioned. As you mentioned, the points that they've got, which should have got against those bottom 2, did not transpire. So to me, there is something underneath that's going on. Because 1 week they can play good, and then, especially in the first half, or vice versa, they don't play well in the first half and play well in the second half. You've got to make sure that it's there for 80 minutes. And look, the fans will have a big say, and rightly so.
Well, to be fair, Gary Hetherington said from the outset of Smith's arrival that this appointment was a view to the long term. They got to the grand final last year, of course. 12 months on from his arrival, do you think Rowan Smith is safe?
Well, if Gary Hetherington says it's safe, then I'd have to say that's 99.9% pretty spot on. But what would happen if, say, for instance, that Leeds continued to lose every single game and Wakefield and Castleford climbed the ladder, which is also possible, maybe not as feasible, they could be relegated. And they've got to start looking at the points table and say, we're not safe. Castleford are not safe either. So it's one thing saying, yeah, look, I can remember Gary Hetherington saying that Richard Agar basically was there as long as he wants after they'd won the Challenge Cup.
Yes.
That it didn't take long before that went sour.
No, it's going to be interesting, isn't it, for the back end of the season? But one heartwarming story from the Leeds Rhinos. They've dedicated their upcoming game against Huddersfield on June the 23rd as an MND awareness game, with 20% of ticket sales going to the MND Association. And there'll be collectors around the stadium on the night offering advice about MND to supporters. This is a fantastic gesture by this club. I mean, Leeds always do, to be fair to them, no matter what happens on the field, what happens in the boardroom, what happens to the coach, they always do the decent thing, don't they?
Oh, 100%. And I hope that it's a sellout. And why not? If 20% of the ticket sales is going to the M&D Association, then please go there, even if you're not a rugby league fan. It's one way of saying I've contributed to M&D. It's a sad situation that we are still striving to get a cure for this awful disease, and helping people by having that 20% will go a long way to achieving that. Let's hope that can be done as quickly as possible. So my appeal to anybody, even people from Lancashire, get in the car and get on the train, get over there, because this is not just about watching 80 minutes of rugby league. This is something special.
It is something special, and it's a fantastic gesture by Leeds. By the way, Stevo, a front page of the Daily Mirror last week. It had both Kevin Sinfield and Rob pictured, and the Mirror demanding that both men should be given knighthoods, something that we heartily support, of course. We've been banging on for a long time about Kevin Sinfield becoming Sir Kev in the not-too-distant future. We've got the Speaker of the House of Commons on board as well, but now Rob to be Sir Rob Burrow. And, let's hope that this happens.
Especially with the fact that the amount of work that Kevin Sinfield has done.
Well, let's hope we do soon with Sir Kevin. And talking of Sir Kev and Leeds, his 18-year-old son, Jack, he signed a new 3-year deal with the Leeds Rhinos till the end of 2026. He was in the squad for the game against Wakefield. He's sitting his A-levels just now. He says he wants to smash his exams and then focus on his rugby. He's a halfback, a goal kicker, right out of the Kevin mould, and is one of several young guns who, to be fair to Rowan Smith and Gary Hetherington, are being given their chance at Headingley in 2023.
Well, having said that, congratulations. And I think he's got his head screwed on right. Make sure that he smashes his exams. You've always got to look further than your rugby league career, because if you get 10 years out of it as a professional, then you've done exceptionally well. So he's certainly got his head turned on the right way. And having a father as switched on as Kevin Sinfield, I'm sure that this youngster will make it. And why not? Goal kicker, halfback is. It's very difficult though, Eddie. It's very rare that the son of a great player actually makes it into the same category as classified as being a great player. It has happened, of course, but let's hope that it will happen with this youngster. I wish him all the best.
Yeah, it's always a problem, isn't it, when you've got, a famous dad, and he's always going to be compared to Kevin. There's no doubt about that. But I've watched him a number of times kicking goals. He is absolutely out of the Kevin Sinfield mold. The way he kicks the goals, his style and everything else, it just looks like a young Kevin who's out there on the field. And you're right, we wish him well. Got to wish him well.
Oh, of course. And, anybody that is following in the footsteps of such a great player, it's not going to be easy for him. And look, the determination that his father shows to both when he was a player and, of course, off the field of play now, I shudder to think every time that is involved in that other game. I keep forgetting the name of it, but I do believe they have 15 players.
Yeah, the dark side. Is this what you're talking about, Steve? The dark side.
Well, yes, a very, very dark side.
He'll come back. He'll come back to us one of these days.
Oh,
I'm sure
listen,
he will.
I've had a 10-bob bet with a friend of mine that he will eventually come back into rugby league. And it wouldn't surprise me if he became one of the highlights, one of the bosses to run our game of rugby league. And why not? If a man can put himself out to earn over £8 million for the charity, then he's got to have the brains to be able to run our game. I know I'm looking way down the track now because he's making quite a good name for himself in that other sport, which I can't remember. And I'm sure he will be back, and we will welcome him.
I must pick you up on one thing you've just said. You've had a 10-bob bet, Stevo. You're back in the 60s. It's 50 pence these days. Do you know that? I know you've never seen a 50 pence. You've never had your wallet open, but it's 50 pence now, not 10 bob.
I think that you could sort of take that with a pinch of salt, Eddie. In fact, a bucket full of salt. But that's how you've been. You've treated me so badly over so many years, embarrassed me so many times on television, that I just brush it off as though a fly has landed on my bald head.
I know exactly what you meant. I was only having a pop at you. Look, off-field matters, and we've got to discuss this week. Josh Maguire, a second ban this year for using unacceptable language. This time it's a 12-game ban. It's the biggest individual match ban in Super League history, following on from 7 he received for a similar offence in a pre-season game against Lee. Strangely enough, the same opponents that the second ban has come about because of. Now then, £1,000 in fines as well. Warrington, they've got to decide what to do about him, haven't they? Because 19 games in a season, that's over 2/3 of the season gone. And he's big money.
I'm not right sure of the distance between Warrington and Manchester Airport, but he'll have to go. Surely they can't keep him there, pay him the full amount, when through his own actions has virtually, make sure that he doesn't play again this season.
No, it's 2/3 of the campaign, 19 games. The tribunal that was held last week lasted several hours, apparently. If Warrington progress in the Cup, he might come back by the end of August. If not, he won't be available until September. The worrying thing is the comments were made to Josh Charnley about a relative of his for the second time, I believe. Now, look, drug-related suspensions are much longer than this. No player, though, has ever received a 12-match ban in the history of Super League. Maguire is a former Aussie international. He's a star of the NRL. He was a huge pre-season signing for Darryl Powell. I mean, 19 games, Stevo, out of the season, of a 27-match season?
I reckon he was lucky that he was given a second chance. We talk about it as a professional sport, and you just cannot have a player doing stupid things like that. It's just not on, and I'm surprised that there's not an uproar by the Warrington fans to say, listen, he's a liability.
But I'm told, Stevo, he's a really, really nice guy. Off the field and on the field and amongst the club, he's a really, really good character. I mean, something obviously goes wrong when Warrington play Lee and Josh Maguire comes up against Josh Charnley.
Well, if you want to say something, then say to him privately, away from the game, away from the pitch. Once, yep, I'm all in agreement to give him a second chance. Give him a third chance? No.
Well, we don't know, do we? We don't know what the legal implications are of that sort of decision, so we'll just simply have to wait and see. OK, look, the other games over the weekend. Hull Kingston Rovers soundly beaten in Perpignan by the Catalan Dragons. They stay top of the table. Little wonder, really. Hull KR had a mountainous injury list after Magic. They also face a dilemma over fullback Lachlan Coote. He's retiring at the end of the year anyway, but he's reported to be considering now whether to go early. His future health is the main concern, of course, after a series of major concussion problems. It's understandable. He didn't play on Saturday night. Jordan Abdul did. He was injured again. He's a major doubt for this weekend's cup tie against Salford. Sam Wood, Jack Walker also injured. Walker couldn't play this week anyway because he's cup tied. But players are having to play out of position. The injuries aren't helping Willie Peters. And, you've got to feel sorry for him because his side have been in fine form this year. They've been playing some great stuff.
You're spot on there, Eddie, in regards to great stuff. I've watched Willie Peters' coaching style, the way that they're playing. And it was, to me, being an old stager, it was like turning the clock back. Runarounds, people running on different angles. He's just got them playing superb, attractive rugby league football. The only problem is that they did not have the depth to be able to fill in for those people who are injured, which is a shame. It can just completely make you lose the season, especially late in the year. So it's difficult for him, but I have to congratulate Willie Peters because every time I watch them play, it's a delight.
Salford's run of form won't be helping Rovers this weekend. The Red Devils had another big win at Castleford on Friday. And here's another team, Salford, great to watch. And in some form, Cup quarter-finalists, fourth in the Super League table, ahead of the likes of Saints and Wigan, Leeds and so on. Salford, under Paul Rowley, what a season they're having. They're having a season to remember.
And once again, I enjoy watching Salford play because they are just keeping this ball alive, very similar to the early days at Hulkington Rovers. And it is a pleasure to see a team that will not just do 5 drives and a kick continually, keep their defence solid, and hope and wait for a mistake, which quite a lot of the teams do. Get a high ball into the kicking game, into the corner, etc., and so forth. And they're quite happy to wait along. And that's why I'm so pleased also that St. Helens have finally got themselves into the swing of keeping this ball alive. They were sensational as well. But I think Salford have been the gun side this season. They could spring quite a few surprises in the run-up to the playoffs.
Oh, absolutely they could. And, when you consider they've probably got one of the smallest spends in Super League, they're not the richest club in the world. They're not the greatest supported club in the world, but they are playing some fantastic stuff. You're absolutely right. Now, Tyler Dupree, by the way, who's been a star for them this year, you remember he's put in a transfer request? Well, he's not happy, apparently, by the way that his request has been handled by the club. But the CEO has said he's going nowhere, Tyler Dupree, and he's contracted till the end of 2025. Back to the field of play. Lee. Stevo, we keep talking about them week after week. What a season they're having. They beat Hull 28-16 last weekend. They're third in the table, for goodness sake. What a season they're having. We mention them every week. Their form shows no sign of abating. They're at York in the Cup on Sunday. The semi-finalists then, in all probability, Alex Murphy, 1970s. He took them to Wembley. Blimey, what a year.
Well, again, I can add Lee to the other two that we've discussed in regards to how they're playing rugby league. They're playing rugby league as it should be. And those three teams, OKR, right, especially, and we've got Salford, and now we have Lee. And the crowds are beginning to turn up slowly but surely because they are getting their reward. They're getting their money's worth. And to beat Hull 28-16 and be third in the table, I mean, who would have thought it? Everyone thought the Leopards, and I'm sure that they'll beat York in the Challenge Cup. They'd have to be odds-on favourite, surely.
I would think so, and they'd be in the semi-finals. They would. Would you have had your would you have had your 10 bob on Lee being third in the table and in the Challenge Cup semi-final by the first week in June? No.
No. I've got to be honest with you. I looked through their list of players. A lot of hard work has gone into it, and the coaching staff has developed them from maybes to would-be's.
Well, there's one blot on the landscape for the Lee Leopards. Adrian Lamb's son, Lachlan, who is playing out of his skin, his leopard skin, he is attracting interest from the NRL. Surprise, surprise. Canberra, apparently. Canberra Raiders are interested. Now, how on earth? I suppose Dad will have a word in his ear, but how on earth can Lee keep hold of Lachlan Lamb if Canberra Raiders want him for next year?
You've got to take into account, Eddie, that everything that you hear and everything that you read may not be 100% correct. Especially the journalistic system that we have down under. They could make you and I a target.
For what?
Actually,
for what?
For coming back as commentators. And well, it is laughable, isn't it? Ha ha ha. But you must understand the journalists in Australia. It is the major game.
And I only wish that somebody would write something about St. Helens. You mentioned them before. Boy, are they back in form. What a performance against Wigan. Tom Makinson, Johnny Lomax, Jack Wellesby. Saints running into the sort of form that makes this drive for 5 looking more and more likely. And they've got Hull in the cup at the weekend.
Yeah, as you say, boy, are they back. And they are. A great performance. It's taken them a while. A lot of people perhaps didn't understand that beating my old club, Penrith, that maybe come as a disadvantage. Because I think a lot of players perhaps thought, we can easily make it 5 on the trot. And they struggled a bit. And they struggled a bit because some of the older players didn't appear to get him back into the routine. But boy, they did last weekend. I mean, look, to score 34 points against Wigan, it's a long time since that's occurred.
Yeah, they were magic at Magic. They were more magical against Wigan. And this week, they're on the cup trail again. So to a Warrington, they got past just got past Huddersfield on Saturday. They are stuttering a bit. And now they travel to Wigan. This is a season-defining date with destiny for both clubs, isn't it? Warrington and Wigan. If Warrington win, people will really sit up and take notice again. If Wigan win, well, they're 80 minutes away from retaining that Challenge Cup at Wembley.
Yeah, it's going to be a difficult game for both of them because I think that both coaches will be saying maybe we don't have the depth to be able to have a good cup run and compete at the top end of the league table. So it really is one of those games whereby win and the confidence will just go through the roof. To lose, that could just knock a lot of the players' attitude. I know that it shouldn't, but in games like that, there's still the magic of Wembley. I hope we never, ever take it anywhere else because that name, Wembley, is just magic. Since 1929, when Wigan played my old club, Dewsbury, it's been the wonderful attraction. To go down to London, support your team, it's part of tradition. And I don't want it to change.
No, it's a great weekend. It really is a great weekend, the Wembley weekend. Okay, that's the British scene. Now, in Australia, where you are at the minute, as you mentioned earlier, State of Origin 2 coming up next week. We got the big news from you last week, the exclusive, that Nathan Cleary is out of the series for the Blues. What else is happening ahead of the second game from this weekend? What's going on?
Well, on the club news, we've already spoken about the pressure about Smith at Leeds. Well, the top coach for Sydney Roosters, Trent Robinson, he's also come under fire from the fans after a very poor start to the season. They sit in 11th position on the table, and they were drubbed by Penrith 30 points to 6. And a lot of the fans were in uproar, and they want to get rid of Robinson. A lot of the press, a lot of the media, they're saying perhaps the team need a new voice. It's a wonderful expression, isn't it? It's a polite way of saying, let's get rid of the coach. Yes, the players need a new voice. Robinson just hasn't got them going. And yet, if he wins the next two games, they'll call him a hero. The one thing that I suppose Robinson has to be careful about is that they've scored the fewest points of any side so far this season. And in 10 games out of the 13 games they've played, they've leaked over 20 points 10 times this season. So it's not been a good ride for Robinson and the Sydney Roosters. But it's all about the State of Origin, Eddie. Like we said, the media, the papers, the radio, you name it, it's all about New South Wales versus Queensland. Of course, the second game will be up in Brisbane. And boy, it's difficult to beat the Maroons up there on their own soil. A lot of pressure, again, on Brad Fittler. And I think Brad Fittler realises that if they do lose in Brisbane, he will be sacked. That is, shall we say, the pressure that arrives with being a State of Origin coach. And New South Wales, the Blues will just say, Fittler's lost it, get someone else. Quite simple, straight to the point. So Fittler has made a few changes, obviously clearing up playing. He's had to bring in Moses from Parramatta Eels, who played outstanding last weekend. Mitchell Moses is a very, very fine player, and he will certainly bring perhaps a little bit more individual brilliance to the New South Wales side, rather than Cleary. Cleary is more of a provider, the creator, the offload, and the kick into the corner. This guy is switched on. He does a lot of individual running, and I think that's what was missing in the first game. One of the big shocks, though, is that Nico Hines, who only came on for the last 12 minutes in the first Origin game, and he's been sacked because he missed the tackle, which allowed Munster to score the winning try. So he's been dropped. And Hines, who won the Daily Messenger Player of the Year last season, has gone. Simple as that. 11 minutes. Sorry, I tell a lie. It was 12 minutes. It was his debut with a Blues jumper. And that's how cruel it is. They've just cast him aside. See you later, Nico. Simple as that.
Well, it's a pressurised game, isn't it?
It is. I mean, the one good thing for the Blues is that Lateral Mitchell, he returns from injury, and he will team up in the centre with Tom Trbojevic. But there is still doubt whether Lateral Mitchell will be 100% ready for that game, to such an extent that Brad Fittler has allowed the Parramatta Eels physio to come into the camp to make sure that Lateral Mitchell gets the same treatment that he's been having over the last fortnight. And that is the biggest throw of the dice from the coach, Brad Fittler.
Okay, so where's your 10 bob note going on this, on the State of Origin 2?
I might up it to £1, Eddie.
Oh, steady on.
Yeah, I think it's very difficult to win in Brisbane, and I think they'll find it difficult to win this time as well. But it'll be a close game. I can't say anything a runaway.
And so your pound is going on?
The Maroons.
Oh,
Listen, I'm up in Queensland, so I may as well back the Queensland boys.
You may as well.
Who are playing very, very well. They just have this habit of turning up for the State of Origin. But I can assure you, all you people in the UK, do not miss it. It's a sellout already. You just cannot buy a ticket up here. People are touting, do you have a ticket that I can buy of you, etc. And the touts will make quite a lot of money because everybody wants to see the Brisbane clash. I'm going Maroons.
Well, that's only because you're up there. When you go back to New South Wales next week, you'll be saying you back the Blues. I know what you're like. You say one thing one week and you do another thing the next week. I know exactly what you're up to. I really do.
Are you trying to say that I talk rubbish and tell porky pies?
Absolutely. We've done it together, son, for 30 years. Look, that's it for this week then. And for the next couple of weeks too, because I'm doing a Stevo on Saturday and I'm taking myself off for a couple of weeks. You don't mind, do you? You don't mind that, do you?
I don't mind. Which cruise are you going on this time, Eddie?
Oh, just a small one, Athens to Istanbul. I'm going to have a look at the stadium where Manchester City won the treble this last weekend. There you go. That's what I'm going to do. So until the next time, which will be the first week of July, you take care of yourself and we'll talk again then. Is that okay?
It looks like I've got no option. You've just sprung this up on me. Oh, dearie me. Athens to Istanbul.
Correct.
Boy, Sky must have paid you a fortune.
International traveller. I've got more air miles than Judith Chalmers and a few more than you have. I can't believe that, by the way, either. I'll talk to you in a couple of weeks.
No, before you go, you know most people listening today to this podcast would have no idea who Julia Chalmers is.
Not Julia Chalmers. Judith Chalmers.
It's not like me to get a name wrong.
No, not at all. No, not at all. Talk to you in 2 weeks.
Take care. See you, top man.